Hi, folks. How are all of you? As always, a pleasure connecting and speaking with you on contemporary topics to do with life and careers. I'm sure you'll find this channel extremely useful. And if these are areas which you want to improve yourself and probably add value to yourself, I would probably urge you to consider liking and subscribing to this channel. We always speak about contemporary topics in life and careers. A very, very interesting topic I've taken up today. As it is popularly said, the biggest bridge or the connecting point between merit and success is really executive presence. I think there's nothing else. A lot of times we probably underestimate the power of executive presence. So this very, very short podcast is going to be all about what exactly is executive presence and why it is very, very important for you to advance in your career. A number of times I keep talking about how you need to have irreplaceable skills within yourself, how you need to equip yourselves with irreplaceable skills necessary for today's marketplace. I've also put up some videos on how you can cultivate irreplaceable skills in your own skill sets, in your own functional area. You probably would like to go through the videos in my channel and have a look at some of those which talk about irreplaceable skills. But most important or more important than irreplaceable skills in today's world is executive presence. Executive presence is is what makes the difference between somebody who's very, very successful and somebody who's not so successful. Other things remaining same. They say ceteris paribus in complex English. So ceteris paribus, other things remaining the same. What determines your better success, higher rate of success compared to someone who is equally skilled like you, equally has the same kind of educational background, same amount of pedigree. So comparatively, who succeeds better is someone who's got executive presence. Executive presence is a very, very complex topic. There are a lot of research going into executive presence. A lot of authors have written a lot about executive presence. Now you probably, if you are an avid reader, I suggest you could probably buy one or two books from Amazon on executive presence. I'll probably see if I can leave one or two links about executive presence. But very, very briefly, what exactly is executive presence? It is just three things. Most importantly, these three things are the underlying essence of how a person can differentiate himself from the rest of the crowd. And these are not very, very I would say these are not very, very aggressive skills. They are very, very passive, subtle skills which make you stand out amongst a crowd, what we call as a skill clutter. Number one is how you carry yourself. It can be the way you dress, it can be the way you make your presence felt, it can be the way you, things like body language, soft skills and things like that. The second thing is how you speak, how you communicate, how effectively you communicate. Again, when we talk about effective communication, a lot of us mistake this to be flamboyancy. No, it is not flamboyancy. It is the kind of assertiveness, not bordering on aggression, and also how clearly we are able to articulate our views in any forum. It can be, and this articulation has to be appropriate to the forum in which you are present. If it is a job interview, it has to be an appropriate articulation. Once we are in a job, we conduct a team meeting and we are the boss of that meeting. Accordingly, we need to probably adjust our tone and tenor and the way we talk. Probably there is more aggression required or more assertiveness required when we talk to a team. And if we are a listener, if we are a part of a group, we are not a team leader, but we are one of the person who is in the group, then the way we need to put across our views is very, very important. We need to stand out from others in terms of how we push our views, how we interrupt in dialogues and discussions, how we make our presence effectively felt, not in terms of just physically, not in terms of looks, not in terms of what we saw earlier about dress and things like that, but how effectively we are able to put across or put forth our views in such a complex forum or a very, very diverse forum. See, what happens is a lot of times we don't necessarily work with homogeneous crowds. The crowds are very, very heterogeneous, and in that sense, when we are in a heterogeneous crowd where people are from very, very diverse backgrounds, not necessary that everybody has come from our own pedigree, our own educational background, in fact our own social strata, but despite that, how not to sound very, very pushy amongst this audience, pushy amongst a whole lot of crowd, at the same time articulate us in a very, very nice concise way and effectively drive across the point to a crowd. I think these are the things which matter in today's executive success or career success more than the hard skills and competencies you have. And that is why I began this podcast by saying that other things remaining same. If there are two people or three people who have the same skills and competencies, who have the same educational qualification, if for example there is a company like Infosys where they say you have so many percentage of marks, you need to have so many percentage of marks in your graduation, post-graduation, etc., etc. So when all that remains the same, how do you become a better success, or how do you have a better strike rate in your career is purely by this executive presence. As I said, it's a combination of very, very simple things. One, how are you carrying yourselves? How are you making your presence felt wherever you are in terms of an executive forum? Second thing is how you articulate your views, how you communicate, how effective are a communicator, what is the power of a vocabulary, whether your vocabulary is appropriate to the forum. If you are talking, if you are a manager in the shop floor, then accordingly you need to tweak your language, tone and tenor so that blue collar workers are able to understand you effectively. They may not be very, very stylish, or they may not be equipped with a lot of vocabulary or even English knowledge like you. So how do you use a mix of English and vernacular language skills to communicate to them effectively? Likewise, if you are representing your functional area in front of the CEO, how will you put across your views to the CEO? Likewise, if you grow in your role, you become middle manager or senior manager, and you have to present your views to the board of director, you have to present your annual budget requirements, annual HR requirements. Again, a little of what I would call as a higher caliber activity. So in that sense, your executive, the nature of your executive presence will be very, very different depending on where you are. So these factors are very, very important, and these factors are now very, very clearly seen as the anchor which will make you sail into very, very deep success or incredible success. So as I say, we can go on and on about what executive presence is. Some people call it as executive presence. Some people use the word presence with a capital P. But irrespective of all that, it is about how you carry yourself, how you communicate yourselves, and how you probably present yourselves appropriate to the situation. These are things which are very, very important. And of course, you can read a lot of literature in all these things. But besides literature, a lot of things, these things also come by iteration. It comes by years of practice. In fact, how appropriately you dress to an occasion also, although it might sound very, very cosmetic, but it comes by practice in terms of what makes you comfortable in terms of clothing, what do you think is appropriate to the place, not very flashy but very, very formal, at the same time not very, very gaudy, but you of course stand out very, very subtly amongst, say, a crowd of say 20-30 people. So that is the kind of subtle difference these things make. And essentially, yes, we also need to do a lot of research about how we can equip ourselves better with executive presence qualities to make our presence felt. But effectively, it boils down to three things: one, the way you dress; two, the way you speak; and three, the way you carry yourselves. These things include things like body language, your eye contact with people, having intense eye contact when you have very, very serious discussions, and a whole lot of soft skills like that. Again, I say a lot of times today what happens is most of us, or at least predominantly, there are a lot of technology jobs today. When you talk about the job market, by default it is the technology job market. That is how everybody constitutes. Very few people assume that a job market is a combination of both tech and non-tech jobs. And today, unfortunately, as far as the tech jobs are concerned, there is a general perception that these kind of things don't really matter. Soft skills don't matter as long as you're very, very good in your programming, your coding, your technical depth of knowledge, etc. There is an assumption that nothing else matters. But honestly, even in these tech companies, if you look at people who are really progressing well, there is a lot of the difference between them and others in terms of emotional quotient. That is another important point which I wanted to mention. You need to be your emotional intelligence or emotional quotient has to be much, much higher than others. And this again is something which comes by practice in terms of how good a communicator you are, how good you manage your emotions, how good you can suppress your negative emotions in terms of when you are in a crowd, when you are driven to the point of provocation. And in case you are probably overwhelmed by positive modes. How do you probably moderate it so that you don't sound so excited in a very, very formal environment? So a mix of this is all about emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is not expressly mentioned as a part of executive presence in those people's research, but in any case, I think it goes without, even without saying that a combination of emotional intelligence combined with all the other three factors which I mentioned, like the way you dress yourself, the way you speak, the way you carry yourselves, your body language, your eye contact with people, all that is very, very important for executive success or executive leadership is what say. And as you progress in your career, I mean, these things may not be very, very significant, or these things may not be very, very important in the early parts of your career, but once you cross maybe the threshold of a 5 to 10 years of experience, tremendous amount of value is added to you by these kind of skills. So it is very, very important to be cognizant of what these skills are. That is where I said this video or my podcast itself is not very, very comprehensive. Maybe it is very, very it gives you information in bits and pieces about as to how executive presence is very, very important, and more importantly, the understanding or the conviction is required within us to realize that the bridge between huge success and merit is executive presence. You may be very, very meritorious, you may be extremely skilled, you may have put in your 10,000 hours of effort to become an expert in your functional area, but if you lack executive presence for whatever it is worth, it is very, very difficult for you to go places in terms of the growth in your career. Things like annual performance hikes, things like better roles, things like getting better job opportunities over a period of time, growing on the career ladder, getting more and more meaty roles in terms of roles and responsibilities as well as job titles, and eventually if you are somebody who is on a career marathon, eventually reaching that the dream CEO or CXO role is essentially going to be only because you have executive presence in you and nothing else. That is the bottom line. Rest all is detail. Yeah, of course you require all the other qualities, but as I said repeatedly, other things remaining the same, ceteris paribus, executive presence will make all the difference for you between being a huge success and probably not so successful person. So I would urge you to keep this in mind. Of course you can supplement whatever I told and gather more and more knowledge about what executive presence is, how important it is and things like that, but very, very clearly all of us who are probably aspiring for better roles, both monetary and non-monetary, have to keep in mind that executive presence is the future of great careers. Thanks for your time. It was wonderful talking to you. I know it is a very, very diverse and complex topic, but I am trying to only simplify it and put it across to you very, very easily in this short period of time. I'm sure you found this useful. You can share it with your friends groups on WhatsApp or whatever if possible, and if you think this is a worthy video, you can probably consider liking this and also subscribe to this channel. I'll see you soon with another interesting video. I'm sure you probably have better executive presence from now on. Thank you. I'll see you soon.